Hey there everybody, this is Mike with Play More Games, and today I have another unboxing from GMT Games. This is called Congress of Vienna, Diplomacy, Negotiation, and War in Europe 1813 to 1814. Alright, this is a game in the Great Statesman series, which started with Churchill. System design credited to Mark Herman, game design Frank Esparago. Alright, so Congress of Vienna, in case you're not familiar, we have four great powers. We have Russia, Austria, and Great Britain, and their various allies, I should say, and Napoleonic France. And the way this game plays out is you have diplomatic, you have a board right here, and each side may advance their issues related to their faction's concern, as well as advance militarily. It'll make more sense in a moment. So I'm going to flip this back over and we'll open it up and we'll take a look. Okay, so first up we have a quick start rules summary. This is about 9 or 10 pages. And if you read through this, you should be able to start playing a game with just minor references to the rulebook, which is much thicker. So if you've played a GMT game before, you kind of know what to expect here very well. Layout, color examples, index in the back, everything you kind of want in a rulebook. GMT rulebooks, I would say, are second to none. I will give them that. I'll give them a lot of other things too. Playbook, again, very thick. This I think has like a 2-turn example of play. It ends up being like close to 22 pages. So that's a lot of information to absorb and take in. But you also have scenarios set up, and you have a couple different scenarios. You have, of course, the big game. You have a tournament scenario. You have an 1813 scenario. And I think you have an 1814 scenario as well. You also have rules for solitaire, two-handed, and three-player games. So if you like bots, you can use a bot system. I prefer to... There's also the CDG solo system available for this game. Personally, I prefer to just play multi-handed and look at charts. But since this one is a 4-player game, I might try the bots. Alright, you have stickers for your armies. You have a player aid. It's double-sided, but pretty clean. Sequence of play. Victory point summary. And on the back, DRMs, national advantages, the War of 1812. Replacement spaces. So not a ton of information. We have, of course, 4 copies of the player aid, as this is a 4-player game. We have an allied bot flowchart. This is why I don't typically like to use these. These have a lot of stuff on them. And it's easier for me to just figure out what a player would do in my head. But in a card-driven game, if you know what cards your opponent has, that can kind of take the fun out of it. There are some strategies for dealing with that. Of course, randomizing the cards, or to my knowledge, the card-driven game solo system uses some sort of method of evaluating cards. I'm not sure. I know a lot of people really enjoy it, and maybe you do listening to this at home, so let me know if you like that. Here's a French player hand, so you have French in one side, allies in the other. Makes sense, right? Counters. Just one sheet of counters. Victory point counters, resource counters, debate counters, and then some battle markers. Looks very interesting. Alright. I'm going to clear some space and I'll lay out the map. Alright, so this might look like 2 maps in one, because kind of it is. So let's look at the negotiation table first, right? So, and this is just based off of prior knowledge of Churchill, right? So you have your diplomacy display. This is, I think, where your issues will go. And each side will nominate a certain number of issues, right? And those markers will exist somewhere in here. Everyone will get cards, and there's a lot of text on the cards, and I don't want to act as if I understand them totally 100% because I don't. But each card has a value, and for example, Andrew Jackson has a bonus when you play on the Treaty of Ghent or the Canada Annexed issue. So, if you play Andrew Jackson, he might have a value of 3, modified to 5 if it's on this issue. If Britain is playing this card, it might be modified to a 2. Right? So I think in this one, if memory serves in Churchill, you had your faction, right? I think in this one, the personages kind of... If you think like you have an event that's dual use in games like Twilight Struggle, right? It's all about interpreting the event from the historical context, right? So if Andrew Jackson is played by the French player, that might be good for the French. It's not so good for the British, right? The Russians, the Austrians, or the French, they may cancel the VP award for the War of 1812 to Britain. If they use this card for fighting in the War of 1812, they get +4 DRM. So it's a very, you can see, even without understanding 100%, there's a lot of flexibility on this card, right? So you have game cards and you have situation cards. So I think this says initial situation, so I'm guessing that's going to be based on the initial. These might be scenario setup cards, but each turn you had certain issues or certain steps you needed to take. In any case, you fight over these issues, and when the negotiations are done, whoever has whatever issue on their side of the track captures the issue. If you bring it all the way down here to these edges, it's secured. If not, it can still be moved. And over here, this works very similar based on my understanding to Churchill. And then over here, we have like the battle map. So again, if you've played Churchill, you have Germany in one section, you have Japan in the other, and you have all these tracks that are slowly eating their way towards Paris, right? So you have Portugal, Leon, Castile, right? And over here you have southern Spain, Valencia, Catalonia, the Pyrenees. Over here from Italy, Sicily, Naples, Italy, the Alps, Lyon, right? Over here from Russia and Austria, right? And you'll have military issues there you can use to conduct offenses. Is there anything else I'd like to show? These are your army blocks. We saw the stickers for these earlier. So just put those on. You have a very nice set of dice. I said in my other videos that I like it when the dice are thematic. So 2 Russian dice, 2 British dice, 2 Austrian dice, 2 French dice. And they kind of look a little yellowed, so that they kind of look like they've been used. Obviously, those are new dice, but I like that effect. And then you have boxes, and then you have cubes and a couple of, the odd cylinder it looks like. And these will be used for various functions. All right. So let's box this up, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay. Here she is, all snug as a bug in a rug. So you might be asking yourself, well, Mike, you talked about what goes into the game, but how do you win, right? And this is a key component of this game, right? So Churchill, you had 3 factions, right? I guess supposedly the 4th, it could be the Axis powers, but the Soviets, the United States, and Britain, they were not just fighting the Nazis, they were struggling politically against each other to determine the post-war order. Very similar system to what's going on here. You have France, who's fighting for dear life, but is still a significant military threat. And then you have the other powers, the Russian power, Austrians, and the British, looking to secure the peace and to achieve the outcome most favorable to them once the war is over. So you can see as a 4-player game, especially in a 1v3, you have lots of room for negotiation and cooperation and backstabbing and things like that, right? So whoever amasses the most victory points, and each side has their own way of earning victory points. It's not strictly limited to winning issues and winning battles. There are other ways to do it. Of course, those help. But it's an interesting look at an interesting period in time. So I hope you enjoyed this look at Congress of Vienna. 白一天使你在看吗? I hope that you have a lovely day, and we'll see you in the next video.